Now, from the Columbia Basin, your local news source, this is iFIBER 1 News, presented in high definition. The #1 source for real-time local news, local sports headlines, and our very own Weather Center forecast covering the entire Columbia Basin. With your iFIBER 1 News team, reporting news in real time as it's happening. From the iFIBER Communications HD broadcast studio in Ephrata, Washington, this is iFIBER 1 News, and it starts now.
Welcome to iFIBER 1 News. I'm Cody Johnson with news from around the Columbia Basin for Thursday, March 7th. Tonight we report on how REC Silicon is getting a refund from Grant County and how David Nichols defense attorneys are seeking a new trial again. We look at how Soap Lake determined to provide firefighting service, and Quincy pays for a study to decide if they want to start their own fire department. In sports, it's raining cats and dogs on the hardwood, and we'll tell you more about the Cougars and Bulldogs later in our broadcast. Our spotlight story tonight is about how the Soap Lake City Council appreciated the Eagles basketball team after their recent berth into the state tournament. And we have the latest weather forecast for the Columbia Basin from the iFIBER 1 Weather Center. Our top story tonight, REC Silicon is getting a $3 million refund on its property taxes. How they're getting the refund is one of the subjects of a meeting between Assessor Lori Grammer and representatives from the 6 agencies affected by the refund. Grant County and REC Silicon recently ended 3 years of dispute about property taxes with a settlement agreement. The company claimed the Grant County Assessor's Office overvalued the property of its Moses Lake plant by $753 million in 2009, $532 million in 2010, and $734 million in 2011. REC claimed it led to the company overpaying its property taxes by about $15 million. The change in the 2010 assessment results in REC getting about $3.3 million back. Grammer said the company could get the money in one of 2 ways. The first is through a refund. The second is by not paying the majority of its $3.4 million property tax bill. Grammer plans to meet with the 6 agencies to decide whether they want to pay REC or have the money taken from the property taxes. The refund affects the Moses Lake School District, the Port, Library, the City, Grant County, and Samaritan Healthcare. For more information on this story, you can visit us on our website at ifiber1.com/news. David Nichols attorneys are back and asking Judge Evan Sperline to grant a new trial again. The attorneys filed a motion in Grant County Superior Court arguing the judge used information he shouldn't have when making his decision and accused the prosecutor's office of interfering with one of their witnesses. Nichols, a 32-year-old Montana man, was convicted of murder in the first degree in September following a roughly 2-month-long trial. Prior to sentencing, Nichols' attorneys moved for a new trial, first arguing they had new evidence pointing at Ian Libby and later adding accusations of juror misconduct and alleged confessions by Libby to the murder. The defense attorneys argued Libby was responsible for shooting Sage Monroe outside his Ephrata home on December 29, 2009, and not Nichols. A portion of the prosecutor's evidence to oppose the defense include police reports, which the defense attorneys claim were non-responsive, uncorroborated hearsay. The attorneys also argued the prosecutors offered a plea agreement to one of the witnesses who allegedly heard Libby confess to murdering Sage Monroe. The witness, Jerry Perry, pleaded guilty to assault in the second degree, assault in the second degree and burglary in the second degree, down from assault in the first degree. Perry stabbed a man in revenge for allegedly shooting him, according to court records. The defense is asking Sperline to either remove the prosecutor's exhibits and then rule, or hold a hearing before ruling a second time on the motion for a new trial. Prosecutor Angus Lee stated they plan to file a response to the defense's motion. Soap Lake made a decision on how they were going to provide firefighting protection to the city during the last council meeting. Here with the story is Ryan Lancaster.
The city of Soap Lake will keep its own fire department. Late last year, the city was considering contracting out for fire services to Grant County Fire District 7. The option would have cost about $44,000, the same amount Soap Lake was paying for a city-run department with few volunteers and many missed emergency calls. But many on the council were hesitant to abandon the fire department. At the first of the year, they opted to delay a decision for 60 days to give time for new Fire Chief Dan Shields to demonstrate improvement. It seems to have worked.
We've turned it upside down and came a long ways.
In the past 3 months, Shields brought the department up from 6 to 17 active volunteers, all who are CPR first aid qualified. They've reorganized and cleaned the fire station, inventoried and repaired the equipment.
I just have to give my volunteers a huge thanks. I mean, there's no way that I could have done it without all the people that I have.
The department's average emergency response times went from the previous 12 minutes down to 8 minutes or less from the time of the call to having personnel on scene. Shields says nearly all rural departments in the state have an average response time of 10 minutes.
We had to have some results in 60 days, and I think the results have surpassed my expectations.
For iFIBER 1 News, this is Ryan Lancaster reporting.
Soap Lake's not the only city working on determining fire protection. Quincy's looking at it also. A study may determine whether Quincy starts a fire department. The city is paying Oregon-based Emergency Services Consulting International $33,255 to study the best way to provide firefighting to city residents. The council approved the contract this week. The agreement follows a dispute between the city and Grant County Fire District 3 concerning the district's contract. The city agreed to a $325,000 one-year extension to the contract. As part of the agreement, the city and the fire district wanted to study different models for paying for fire services. City Administrator Tim Sneed said the contract fulfills the agreement and the fire district agreed with it. He expects the study to be completed by July. Fire District 3 Chief Don Fortier was present at the meeting but didn't comment. Each of the people you see here have warrants for their arrest and are wanted by various law enforcement agencies. If you see any of these people, the DOC asks that you not attempt to detain or apprehend them, but to call police. You can also call the Department of Corrections at 509-764-6180 during the day or 509-762-1160 after 5 p.m. We'll be right back after these messages with the latest from the iFIBER 1 Weather Center, and we've got sports and more news on the way.